Now that the qualifying events for the Junior and Senior Grand Prix series are completed, I thought it would be a good idea to look back at these events. I will be discussing my standout moments and the skaters that are going to be moving forward to the final. I will also be taking a look at my trip to Halifax for Skate Canada, so stick around. Let's start with the Junior Grand Prix series. If you haven't had a chance to watch any of these events, I recommend that you go to the ISU's YouTube channel. There's a playlist called Must Watch Moments put together by Ted and Mark, and it has some great highlights from each of the 7 events. I recommend that you watch them because you can get a lot of information from them, and it's fun to see these younger skaters. In fact, I recommend that if a Junior Grand Prix event is anywhere near you, that you go in person to watch it. First of all, the tickets are cheaper than for any other kind of skating event. And secondly, the crowds are usually pretty sparse for these, and juniors need all the love that they can get. So I highly recommend that you attend them. If you can't get to an event in person, I do recommend that you check the events out on the ISU's YouTube channel. These are the future of skating, and while their performance may not be equivalent to the seniors, their technical skills are building, and it is really incredible to watch these young skaters. And I do like Ted and Mark's way of handling the events. They are quiet during the actual performance, and then afterwards, during the highlight section, they talk about the good things that the skaters did and the mistakes that they made. And I have really learned so much from just watching these programs. And now let's talk about the individual skaters that were at the junior events and the ones that caught my eye. Now, it's been a while since those events ended, so forgive me if I look over at my notes from time to time. First, I want to mention the U.S. skaters who caught my attention and also will be competing in the Junior Grand Prix final. At the top of the list is Jacob Sanchez for men's skating. I was really impressed with his artistic style as well as his technical skill, and I look forward to seeing what he will deliver in the final and going forward. I understand that he has competed in his first senior event, so I imagine we'll see him more on the world stage going forward. In the ice dance discipline, I was impressed by Elena and Ethan Peel. They had such beautiful moves and such great choreography, and I look forward to seeing them competing in the final. Other skaters who caught my attention are Ryo Nakata of Japan in the men's division, Mao Shimada of Japan in the women's division, Jasmine DeRoches and Karen Thrasher of Canada in the pairs, and Yan Hao Lee from New Zealand also in the men's division. All of these are moving forward into the finals, and I look forward to seeing their competition. But who I'm keeping an eye on for the future are Hannah DeBees from Egypt, Ian Wheeler from Switzerland, and Patrick Blackwell. All 3 of them were amazing. And even though their technical skills may not be on par yet with those who went on to the final, there was something about the way that they interpreted the music and moved to it that really caught my attention. And I look forward to their journey in skating in the future. And here are charts showing the Grand Prix finalists in each of the divisions. I will be talking a little bit more about this chart in my next video, so be sure to come back for that. Now let's take a look at the Senior Grand Prix events and the skaters. If you are thinking about attending a live figure skating event, I recommend one of the Grand Prix events. For one thing, the tickets are usually cheaper than something like Worlds. And for another, there are less skaters competing in each division, so it's a less dedicated chunk of time when you're getting used to attending an event in person. There were quite a lot of surprises in these events, in the finishes, and it did keep things interesting. As far as U.S. skaters that I particularly want to mention, of course there's our quad king Ilya Malinin, who will be going on to the final. He always impresses with his technical skills, and I'm pleased to see that his PCS is improving. I can definitely see that he is connecting more with the music. Second, Amber Glenn. Wow, she just amazed me with both of her events. And I was so pleased to see how well she did, and I am so excited that she is going on to the final. She will be the only non-Japanese woman who will be competing in the final. And that's nothing to sneeze at because the Japanese women were particularly amazing. In pairs, we have Ellie Kam and Danny O'Shea, who will be going on to the finals from the U.S. They had quite an impressive field to compete against, and the U.S. is still developing its pairs discipline, so I was very pleased to see that they were able to advance onto the finals. And then there's ice dance, which is always a very challenging field for the top competitors. I was very pleased to see that Madison Chalk and Evan Bates came back from their second place finish at Skate America to score a first at the NHK Trophy. I look forward to their competition in the finals. Other skaters that I want to mention. Jason Brown, of course. He's my favorite skater. I just love him. And even though he's not going on to the final, and we knew that pretty much going on from the beginning, he is just so amazing to watch. And this was his first competition of the year. So I look forward to seeing where these programs will be by the World Championships in Boston. And then there's Adam Schauffenfall from France, who always has my heart in my throat every time he competes because I'm never quite sure what we're going to see. But I was glad to see that he pulled everything together and will be going on to the final. In pairs, I was pleased to see that Diana and Maxim from Canada are going on to the finals. And I'm always impressed by what they pull together, although I must admit I don't quite understand their free skate and don't quite like it as much as last year's programs, but I still love to watch them skate. And then there's ice dance. I love watching all the top teams, and I'm particularly pleased to see that Lila Fear and Lewis Gibson did so well this year. They were the only ones to win both of their events, and they're going on to the finals. I love Piper and Paul's Beach Boys program, and I look forward to seeing that as many times as I can. But I must admit that my personal favorites were the other Canadian team, Marjorie and Zach. I just love their programs. And when they skated their free program in Halifax, it brought the whole audience to their feet. You could just feel the electricity in the air. I look forward to watching them going forward and performing at the finals. As far as the other skaters who didn't make it to the final, but who I'm keeping an eye on, I particularly want to mention Olivia and Tim from Spain, who are a newer pairing after her previous partner retired. And I thought this year they are really starting to come together. So I look forward to seeing how they progress over the rest of the season. But I must admit that the biggest surprise to me was Mikhail Shadorov of Kazakhstan. He had not been on my radar before. I'm not sure why, but I was just amazed at both of his performances at his events. In fact, I think he got a little underscored at his last event and that he should have qualified enough to get into the final. But he is the first alternate, and I look forward to his performances over this season. And here are the charts for the Senior Grand Prix finalists in each of the divisions. Again, I will be talking more about the details of these charts and how people are selected to go to the finals in my next video. As I've mentioned before, I try to get to at least 1 or 2 competitions in person, and this fall it was Skate Canada in Halifax. I just loved Halifax. It was a beautiful city, hills everywhere, which made it a little more challenging for touring, but I had a great time and I saw a lot of sights there. And the skating was wonderful. There were so many standout performances. As I've already mentioned, Marjorie and Zach in ice dance and the free program took my breath away and just electrified the whole stadium. Jason Brown was there for his first competition, and as usual, the crowd was on their feet for him because he does such an amazing job, and we just love him. And while in Halifax, I took some time to do some sightseeing around the city. I took the Harbor Hopper tour, which is a boat that drives down the roads and then goes into the water. I think like the duck boats. And I really recommend that if you're in Halifax, because they did a wonderful job of showing you all the sights in the city so that you can decide what to go and see next on your own. And then into the harbor, which, I'm never going to get a boat of my own and zoom around there. So that was wonderful to be able to see the city from that point of view. If you're ever in Halifax, I particularly recommend the Museum of Maritime History with their several different displays, including one on the original Indigenous settlers, the Titanic and its aftermath, and the explosion that occurred in Halifax Harbor back at the beginning of the 1900s. There are a lot of amazing old buildings in Halifax, including several churches and municipal buildings, and I recommend just strolling around the city and taking a look at all of these. If you're a Titanic fan, first of all, I recommend the Museum of Nautical History because they have quite an amazing display on that. But they also have a cemetery that has a section where those Titanic victims who were not returned to their own homes were buried. It's quite a sobering area to walk through and reflect upon that tragedy. And then there's the food. I particularly recommend the fresh seafood, which you can find at a number of places, especially along the wharf area. Definitely worth looking into and worth eating. And that's a look back at these events and these skaters and at Halifax. In my next video, I will be taking a look forward to the Grand Prix final and the skaters who will be competing in it. So subscribe so that you don't miss that. See you soon.